You're watching College Sports Rush's Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
All right, Jimmy Ott and Charles Hanagriff talking college baseball again. Let's get right to it. Another profitable week last week, so 8-2 overall, plus 7.78 units in there. So, and we start off with one because speaking of those units, we've had a couple of dogs. We had a couple of big prices. We laid almost $4 back a few weeks ago. Against Missouri Tigers. That's done now. You're laying like 20-1 on those, so that's even beyond. They were tied with Georgia in the ninth inning on the Sunday game, but Georgia scratched across 2 runs at the top of the ninth and won in Columbia. 0-24 for the Missouri Tigers, the worst in this conference in the SEC. Is 5-25 all time. They are easy money. At one point, Charlie, I think they were 0-15 or 0-18. I put their over-under at 1.5. I'm putting it at a half now. 1, and maybe they'll get that done. And speaking of one of those line hikes, and we were looking to take it, boy, the Auburn ace has been really good in Dutton. South Carolina, Paul Maneri's first year in Columbia. Ray Tanner, former baseball coach, hired him. He's no longer the AD who hired Paul Maneri. That's one to keep an eye on. But South Carolina, and they got smoked. Not only did they get beat, they got handed to them against Florida this past weekend. We thought that line might be 3, but tonight it's minus 345. Well, in the week where NBA just kind of throw-ins on moneyline parlays are just automatic, right? Not so much. This might be one. I've actually already thrown it in a couple of parlays, but we're going to abstain because of this line hike at minus 345. That's a lot, but man, Auburn is 2 teams, 2 pitchers going in opposite directions right now.
Yeah, Sam Dutton has quietly had an all-conference year. He doesn't get the ink that Doyle or Witherspoon or Anderson gets, but he's kind of a journeyman at LSU, part-time starter, mostly a reliever, and he just exploded. He's got an ERA in league games of under 2.5. His last 5 starts, he's been spectacular. I think that they will win easily tonight, but 345 is too much to lay all by itself. So we'll lay off the game. You want to put in a parlay? I'd feel pretty comfortable with that because I think Auburn will win this game. South Carolina going to have a hard time on the road. They've got a really, really difficult stretch coming up to finish the season.
All right, let's get to our picks, and let's start off with LSU and Arkansas. In handicapping baseball, it's usually not a whole lot of situational handicapping. What I talk about in college football and basketball, I mean the field storm fade. I mean the court storm fade. When the team is so emotional, there's not a former player or current or former coach that says you cannot have 100% emotion intensity at week in and week out every week in college athletics. Well, we really usually stay away from it in college baseball, but it seems like it is happening, and it is a real thing. Texas against Texas A&M, they won 3 hard-fought games against their rival, and then they went to Arkansas, 16-2 in the league. I mean, unbelievable. Charlie, not only did they get swept in Baum in Fayetteville, they got spanked. I mean, this was big. They got, ripped to shreds, not even competitive in any of the games in Arkansas that they got swept. Now, Arkansas, and that place was popping, man. That is a fun atmosphere. And, well, now they're in a little emotional letdown spot. And this is also a team that lost their three straight conference series heading into that sweep against Texas at home. LSU 15-9 overall, Arkansas 17-7 at Alex Box Stadium. Keep in mind, these are all the last home series of the season for the SEC teams. Who's ever at home will be on the road next week.
Arkansas and LSU are 2 of the most dramatic home and road splits overall in the league. Arkansas's 30-3 at home at Baum Stadium, 10-2 in the SEC. LSU's 28-4 at Alex Box Stadium, 10-2 in the SEC. But both of them are about 500 teams on the road. And I got to hand it to Zach Root. There was the one game we missed last week. He had pitched pretty poorly in the 4 starts prior to last week. The ERA was over 7. He went out and had an all-timer, Jimmy. His best collegiate start. He went 8 shutout innings against Texas. He threw 99 pitches. He was phenomenal. But I'm going to see if he can do it again. I think on the road, it's a lot tougher. I think he'll come closer to reverting back to form, which is about a 4 or 5 inning guy that can be hit. And, for LSU, Cade Anderson, they have been phenomenal behind him. They're 6-2 in his SEC starts. He started every Friday night. His last 2 starts, he's been really, really good. 2.03 ERA. That was including the loss at A&M. They lost a game, but he pitched really well. The strikeout to walk ratio in those 2 starts is 6-1. If this game was in Fayetteville, I'd pick Arkansas, but it's in Baton Rouge. I'll take the Tigers here in a matchup of aces. And LSU also, I think, with a little sense of urgency here. They're a top 8 national seed right now, but they can't afford to drop this series. They go 3-3 in the last 6 games. They go to South Carolina next week. They're going to be on the bubble. They need to win this series. That would, I think, pretty much cinch up a top 8 national seed.
The Texas ace, who was red hot until he ran into a runaway train in Fayetteville in Riojas. Keep in mind that they hit him good, and so I'm not taking away, what he did. The Arkansas starter against that Texas lineup was impressive, but he was staked out to an early big lead, and that could kind of calm things down. He could just attack the zone. He didn't have to fine tune a lot of stuff, and I'm just wondering how much that played a factor in that eight innings of shutout ball as well.
You're right. He was pitching with a lead. I think they got 2 in the second, 3 in the third, or maybe 2 in the second, 4 in the third, and 3 in the fourth. He was staked out. But by the time they got to the 5th inning, he had a very, very wide lead. You're right.
Yeah, 9-0. I think that may have even been the final in that game. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the Battle of Tennessee. A little rivalry week here in Knoxville. And championship hangover. Let me know if you heard about this before. There's no way to prove it, but it sure seems to happen. Tennessee won their first national championship ever last season. Had a big parade and all the celebration, and they got a lot returning. They, talk about NIL, but yes, it exists in college baseball as well, and it's even less of a level playing field in that one. Tennessee certainly has that. Vitello has gotten the boosters excited about supporting the baseball program with that player budget. Tennessee, both teams are 14-10. Vols lost 3 straight series. They've lost 4 of 5 series, and now the rankings, the projections, they're kind of getting into that gray area, maybe on the outside of the bubble as far as hosting. Not just a top 8 national seed where you host throughout for the regional and super regional, but host for the regional round. And this is not done the old way, where just a financial guarantee. It is done on merit, unless a small conference team just doesn't put up a bid, and they'll take the 17th and maybe the 18th team to host. But Tennessee's in danger of hosting, period, Charlie. A little something extra in this spot against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, absolutely. Their RPI is 13 right now. If the selections were today, they'd get a host site. But they can't afford to lose this series because they go to Fayetteville to finish up. So you've really got to hone in on this thing. They're 27-7 at home. I like this matchup from both pitching standpoints. Liam Doyle, who's going to be a top 10 pick in the MLB draft, the lefty, upper 90s, had a very odd week last week. They started the game on Friday. He pitched the top of the first inning, and then it rained. And they didn't go back out on Friday night. So they chose not to start him in the game on Saturday, but they brought him in relief. He pitched the last 2 innings of Tennessee's walk-off win, and then he got thrown out of the game, which meant that he was going to get a suspension. Suspensions for starting pitchers are 4 games. For relief pitchers, they're 2. Well, Doyle's been a starting pitcher all year, but he came in relief in that game. So
he was a relief pitcher of that game, yes.
He literally got thrown out in between innings, but he is eligible to start this game. Check to make sure tomorrow morning, but the suspension was 2 games, so he's ready to go. So he only threw 57 pitches last week. He's been 90 to 100 or slightly above 100 every week this season. I mean, he's been a rock-solid ace. I got to think he's going to be fresh, even though he threw on 2 separate days. It's only 57 pitches, 115 strikeouts in 67 and 2/3 innings. The SEC weekends at home for him, the ERA is 153. Doyle at home is really, really tough. The other angle here is Vanderbilt's ace. We've been on him, Jimmy. 3 weeks ago, we took him at home against Georgia. They won. 2 weeks ago, we went against him on the road at Ole Miss. Ole Miss won. Last week, we took him at home against Alabama. They won. This week, we'll go against him on the road. Why? Because J.D. Thompson's home ERA is 2.31 and his road ERA is 6.63. So he's a solid ace, but he's way worse on the road. He doesn't get nearly as deep into games. He gives up a lot more runs. So given those two splits, Tennessee's sense of urgency. Vanderbilt, by the way, won Sunday. They needed 7 runs in the last 2 innings to walk off Alabama, so that's a big emotional letdown too. I love the pitching matchup here for Tennessee.
Keep in mind, too, the 2.3 ERA at home. That is a very hitter-friendly park.
It is.
In Knoxville, Tennessee. So, I mean, it looks like something, that's a lazy ball, maybe in the right center field out. Oh, that's gone about 20 feet. So, it's, and you know what? A little extra energy for the fans as well. Well, Tennessee, Vanderbilt's been their little brother for so many years in, all the major sports. Not in baseball. There's no doubt. Vanderbilt has been the superior program for the last 20, 25 years also. So anyway, Tennessee with a home field advantage. The SEC in baseball, yes, it has made a difference this season as well. Let's get to our last pick this week, and then we'll take a little bit of a peek at the national scene and sort of the future bets to win it all at Bet Rivers. But Oklahoma and Kentucky, and Charlie, no secret here, but we're going to continue. We think the odds are still maneuverable here. Fade Missouri, that window has passed. Okay, if you want to go bet 20-1 on a baseball game, have at it. But anyway, Oklahoma in their ace in Witherspoon, and we had them plus $2 at Georgia. Was outstanding there. Now you got to survive their bullpen as well. But the last 4 games, Friday nights or game 1s of the SEC series against Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Georgia, Missouri, and Vanderbilt, they have won all of them. 2.13 ERA in the last 4 starts. So Witherspoon and Oklahoma, they have a hammer here. Got to get them deep. Because, that bullpen is shaky. I think it was 9-1. It finished 9-7 in Athens, something like that on draft night. That was NFL draft night. Kentucky, on the other hand, has a lot of injuries and starting to pile up. They are now 10-14 in the league. Mangione is doing his best to try and squeeze as much juice out of this roster, but I think they're on their 5th third baseman right now. In their lineup, it really shows it was weak at the dude in Starkville in where they got beat over the weekend. Now you're going to go against Witherspoon. I know they're at home, but he's handled much tougher lineups in much tougher situations. We go back to that Athens start. Oklahoma's the pick here, and we're looking at a price, but on the road, it might be tempered a little bit.
Yeah, and Kentucky's Friday night starter, Nate Harris, has been solid. He went into Friday night role 5 weeks ago. The ERA is very respectable, 3.63, but they've lost 3 of his 5 starts, and one of those wins was against South Carolina. So he's about a 5-inning guy. Like I say, he's very solid, but he's not Witherspoon. Kentucky is one of the last 4 in right now to the tournament. They need these games, but I just think it's going to be hard to beat Witherspoon's. Oklahoma is really interesting to me because they've got a 21 RPI. They could play themselves into a host site if they get hot here in the last 2 weeks because they get Texas in Norman next week. That's a big, big RPI builder if they can win that against that now revamped Texas rotation. If they don't, Jimmy, Oklahoma's the scariest 2 seed in the tournament, I'll tell you, because if they roll the dice and hold Witherspoon for game 2, right, they would be a road favorite in a marble game, which you almost never see. So I like Oklahoma in this game. Kentucky kind of ran into an emotional buzzsaw also last weekend at Duty Noble with Mississippi State. Interim coach. Sometimes we see that you get an influx of energy with an interim coach. It wears off, but for the first weekend, it was there. I really like Oklahoma in this game. I think Kentucky's got to get at least 1 or 2 in this series to give themselves, a little bit of breathing room going last weekend to get themselves in the NCAA tournament.
Just to let you know, the marble game, which is kind of common terminology for us here, but in a 4-team regional, the winner's bracket game, it's the marble game is you win, you got 2 games to win 1 to advance. You lose, you got to win 3 straight. So that's what we talk about the finesse. And some coaches will put their ace in game 1. No matter what, stay with their rotation in that order, and some will save that ace and roll the dice with the first game there as well. But Witherspoon minus up to the range up to minus $2 in that one. We're expected to be a price, but they certainly paid off, and Kentucky's lineup is not what they were earlier in the year. Taking a peek at the College World Series odds to win it all at Bet Rivers right now, and this is going to get to a point. Arkansas is the favorite now at plus 400. They have lost 3 of their last 4 series. LSU is a 500 team the last couple of weeks, and probably, the plate production is probably at a conference season low right now. Their second choice. Tennessee has lost 3 series, 4 of 5. Their third choice. Texas is 5th choice. They just got spanked in Arkansas. My point in talking about this, Clemson was one of the hottest teams in the country. They're 25-1. They got swept a couple of weekends ago against Raleigh. North Carolina State, who swept them, got swept at Miami. There's parity. This is a sport that usually doesn't have a whole lot of parity. There are some haves and some have-nots. And sometimes you can lay that $4 price in postseason and things like that. But this season, who's the real favorite? You might be able to take a shot at a team with some odds, at 30 or 50-1, that may have a legitimate shot.
I'll give you 2 teams, and it's because of their frontline pitching and the possibility of the offense. First one's Tennessee. When you can go Doyle and Phillips, Doyle is going to be as good as any pitcher you see the entire season. We saw MLB did a mock draft this week. He's in the top 3. 97 from the left side. And then Phillips comes in game 2. Tennessee hasn't been playing well, but if they get hot, man, they got two guys up at the top of that rotation that are just fantastic. They've got championship experience. Maybe this is just a little bit of a lull, but if they get hot, you get Tennessee at a price, I'm in, because I think that, look, they win this series this weekend against Vanderbilt. They guarantee themselves 1 home series. I like the Vols at a price. I think LSU's got the maybe 2 of the hottest pitchers at the top of their rotation, and they've got 2 really solid guys out of the bullpen, depending on what they do with Case and Evans. Tigers just haven't hit. They are in about a 4 or 5 week hitting slump. And you say, well, is it a slump or are they just not good? A lot of these guys have hit in the past. The newcomers are the ones that are continuing to hit. So if LSU can stay at home, and then Arkansas, you can't rule them out. I think even if they lose this series to LSU, they're still a top 8 national seed. They're almost impossible to beat in Fayetteville. I can't imagine anybody goes in there and wins a regional or a super regional. So if they're at home, I think they're getting to Omaha. Those are the 3 teams. Now, Zach Root is the number 1, gives me a little bit of concern. He was great last week, but that hasn't been the case all year. So those are the 3 teams I'd give you out of the SEC.
All right, let's do it for this week. We do it all the way through the College World Series in Omaha. For Charles Hanagriff, I'm Jimmy Ott here at the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
Thanks for watching College Sports Rushes, Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.